All right, guys, welcome back to another KevCAM night class tonight. Tonight, have Andrew helping out with any questions or concerns that come along the way for you guys. Andrew, are you with us?
Hey, what's up, guys?
So tonight we are going to be covering turning, lathe turning tonight. Got a pretty simple part for us and kind of going over the more or less the basics. Not doing any super extravagant parts, but kind of covering what everything kind of does for you guys in the turning module and the ins and outs of everything inside of turning. But I'm looking through the list here, and it looks like we have a bunch of regulars here, so I won't go over my same rigmarole. But for those of you guys that are watching on YouTube, definitely send those ideas over to me in an email, and we'll send you off some SolidCAM swag as a thank you. For those of you guys that are watching on YouTube, my email will be in the bottom of each description of the video. So if you guys want to send those over to me, and all videos are recorded for you guys, so you guys can always go back and check them out. And should pull up as SolidCAM University, or if you type in KevCAM, should pull up for you guys there. I'm seeing a couple more people pile in here. So, all right. So with that being said, we'll kind of get the ball rolling here with turning tonight. It's going to be I would assume a shorter class tonight, just because there's not a whole lot in here, but we'll kind of go through it, and hopefully you guys will have any questions or clear up any questions that you guys have, or show you guys something new. So, okay, so we got our part in here, a little similar to the part we did 2 weeks ago now. And we have some internal going on, some external turning, and some finishing going on here. So what we'll do is just start off with doing turning again. Now, like I was saying in the last class of doing facing, when you guys are doing turning, it's all based off of this 2D sketch right here. You guys can do it off of the solid model. Just kind of found it works a little easier working on the wireframe, so I'll be kind of mostly using that tonight as we kind of go through it. But so picking your geometry, just like milling. Now it's automatically going to be defaulted to up to entity for you. So what that's saying is, if I want to do this entire area right here, all I have to do is click one line here, and where do I want it to end? And it will connect all the lines for you. We can do this in also just by selecting the faces or the geometry. I just feel like we have more control over this, not knowing where it might go and whatnot. So just personal preference. But for this particular one, we're going to do just kind of face off the part and showing you, even though we covered facing last week, and we can kind of show you how to do it in turning. So grab our geometry here. And we'll go ahead and grab our tool now. Now for turning, kind of get into the habit of going into your edit geometry and just seeing what the path is going to be doing. So I can see that it's automatically set to auto extend to my start for my stock, but I don't have an extension beyond that. Personally, I like to have the auto extend on for the bottom, so it's going to go right down to the center point of what's going on there. Now, if you guys were to drill this hole first, it would just go down to where the drill left off for you guys. So we'll set our auto extensions up. And now we'll go ahead and grab a tool. And I'm just going to use just a regular face mill or facing tool here. I don't have the exact parameters of this tool. I don't know if it's a CNMG or which one it is here, but this one was built and just out of the library that I had. But you can see all our values are in here for building this particular tool. Using our cut direction going right. So all your values here. This is in metric also, because I had quite a bit of requests to get everything in metric. So we'll kind of be splitting it off like we did milling. We'll do some metric, some inch for you guys. Kind of share the load there. Now levels, not much we have to do in here. The levels are always going to look the same for you guys for any of the turning operations. Your safety distance is basically kind of showing what the picture is going on right here. When it does, when we come and mill this up, how far is it going to come up in the X and how far it's going to come in the Z. If you guys want a specific one, set up, you guys can do a custom, and you guys can put those numbers in there. You can also set up limits in your diameter. So let's say you don't want it to go up to a certain diameter, you can actually put that diameter value in there to keep it within the envelope range. All right, technology. How do we want to approach this? Are we cutting on the top side, so long external or short external? Are we doing internal? Are we doing front face, or are we doing back face? So for this particular one, we're just going to be facing. So we'll grab that one. Now you have 3 different options right here. If you leave it on rough, it's just going to do a roughing pass, and then we can come in and turn on our finishing. If you guys just want to do a finish only, we have that option too. Or we have what's called a copy. Now what the copy does is it pretty much mimics the tool path or the geometry that you chose. So for this particular one, it's not going to do us a whole lot of good to use copy. But if we have, let me see if I can grab this picture. Yeah, I can't grab this picture. Let me just do this. And go to copy. And let me slide this over for you guys. And this will explain it a little bit better for you. So basically what the copy is, it's just keeping the parallel to the geometry the entire time versus doing, lines, and then doing a finish pass. So that's what copy does for you guys. So, and we can also do, within a working area. So under roughing, we can have a couple options. We can do smooth, which is going to have nice smooth lines going through. We can do stairs, which is going to do it in a stair style. And then we also have ramping. So you can do a angle of a ramp into it and kind of do like a zigzag pattern going down, depending on the tooling that you guys are using. Now, since we're just doing a facing, this really doesn't matter to us because we're just doing straight steps down. So we'll just leave it on smooth. By default, it's going to have, I think with inch, I want to say it's 10 thou and 5 thou. For metric, it's 0.6 millimeters and 0.2 millimeters. If you guys like to see this
question.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you got that already, Kevin, but from Ronnie.
Let's see here. Please demo working area. Okay, yep. Ronnie, once we get into the face turning right here, I'll definitely show that for you guys. If you guys like to see these numbers come in the same or a different number, this is where you can save it out as a template. And then we can have that template automatically loaded in there. So anytime you start a new turning project, it automatically loads that template. So is there any questions on loading those templates and how to get these numbers to come in at a specific number versus the default values? Okay, don't see anybody. Okay. So these are just your offset, and you have, you can do a distance, you can do ZX or ZX in absolute. Step downs, basically how much do you want to take per pass? So this is step down or step over. Your retreat distance is how much is it going to raise up as you go around. So you can kind of see right here as we take our pass, come up, go down, and so we can stay within the cut there. And direction, do you want to do it one way or zigzag? Like I said, that one's more determined on if the cutter can handle cutting both directions. Someone just showed me I can't think of the name of it. Oh, shoot. I'm trying to think of the name of the cutter. They just came out with it, and it was Ingersoll. There's some pretty impressive turning with, and you can go bi-directional. You can go heavier on the one direction, but a little bit lighter on the opposite direction, but has some pretty impressive videos on it. And then what you guys can also do is set up an angle. So if you guys want, you guys can put an angle in there. So instead of doing 0 degrees, we can do 45 degrees and do kind of what we're showing here in the picture for you guys. So semi-finish and finish, this is where you guys can set up your semi-finish and finish passes right here. These are going to be the same, but you guys can set it up as, let's say you wanted to, do a roughing pass and then a semi-finish and then a finish. The only difference between semi-finish and finish is one has an offset for you guys, so you guys can put an offset in there. If we want to finish this off, we can do a ISO turn method, which is going to follow the geometry exactly, doing a stairs method of kind of like what we showed before with the roughing. So it's going to kind of do a stairs way of going about it. And then down only is for, this one's kind of a tough way to explain. It's going to go bi-directional for you guys. So if you're kind of looking at the picture here, it's going to kind of come down, take the cut. Once it gets to that center there, it's going to come up, retract, and then come down again, keeping the tool down in that material as much as possible. Now for doing facing, it's not going to really matter for us, or really more, this is more kind of for doing grooves or deeper valleys, I guess you would say. So we can do ISO turn, and then you can do finish just the rest material, or you can finish the entire geometry. This one gets a little bit, gets a little confusing every once in a while for some customers. So let's say, you guys are trying to finish the entire area, but it's only finishing just a specific spot. That's where you need to come over here and say entire geometry. So that way it's going to do a finish cut over everything, not just the rest material. And then of course we got compensation. Now strategies, so like I was talking about those valleys, for a lot of these tools, they can't fit down inside these grooves per se. It will try to go in there as much as possible, but just depending on the angle of the insert and the holder, you'll just get a partial in there. Well, if you're already coming back to finish that up with a grooving tool or a different tool, what we can do is we can tell it to do non-descending and just kind of skip over the top. This is kind of like HSS, when we talk about the links and just to kind of go over the holes instead of trying to get down in the holes, kind of the same strategy right there. And then we also have split geometry. So when you're doing split geometry, it modifies and divides the profile into several segments, and then you can specify the length of the segments. This is something that I've never used, to be 100% honest with you guys. But you guys can set it up as doing segments, and you guys can set up a distance for each one. So it's just kind of doing it in, it's kind of, instead of doing the entire geometry, it's kind of splitting it up into little, partitioning it off, I guess you could say. So, and then you can do a retract for each one, so it goes up and around it. But like I said, this one isn't one that I haven't seen used very often by any customer, and I personally haven't used it very often. So, but the option is there for you guys. Now, edge break. Now, as you guys are getting into, let's say, we got, let me turn off my tool here. We got sharp edges right here. If we're kind of coming about to finish this off, we wanted a little edge break on there. We can definitely set that up. You can do internal corners or external. So if we're doing the outside, we do external. You can do chamfer or fillet. If you do chamfer, the dialog down here will pop up on what angle do you want and what distance in Z. Or if you switch it over to fillet, that area will gray out and it'll switch over to fillet, and you can just put what radius you want in there. So pretty nice, pretty nice and easy in there. If you guys needed extensions, you can actually add on extensions also to that. Okay, link, same as what we talked about last week. You got your approach points from the right safety corner, left safety corner. A lot of different options here on how do you want it to approach coming in from the turret into the spindle. Then of course you have your lead in and lead outs. So you got your normal, tangent, and arc in there for you guys. So, okay, now that I went through and selected a bunch of stuff I probably didn't need here, let me just check. I think that looks good. Just do a save and calculate. And you can see our tool path. So we're coming in here, and taking a couple passes going down. Now let's get into the simulation here. And I think I talked a little bit about last week on this one, but for turning, this is my favorite one to use, is the turning simulation. I can see my part in here. You can see it, it's revolved right here. Here's my center line of what's going on. I can kind of click and drag it wherever I want. And I really don't care about the bottom half because it's everything I'm seeing up here is in the top half. But we can single step it through, take its pass, come down the center, and do a finish cut. And we're done. So pretty simple, easy. You can do, the host CAD or another one, Solid Verify. You can see it just as well here. I guess the nice thing what I like about the turning here is I can kind of see what's left over. So I can actually see my SolidWorks model right here. So I can kind of see how close it's getting into there versus if you guys do it in Solid Verify, play it through, then what we have to do is bring up our stock target comparison and just to get a kind of a sanity check to make sure we're cutting where we're supposed to be. Okay. Now let's cut the outside perimeter. So we want to kind of get this area, and this top machined off. So we do another turning here. And we'll select here to here. And like I said, it'll go to our modify conditions. So for this particular one, don't need to do auto extend to stock because if I do an end, I'm going to be piling into my vise here, which we don't want. So I'm going to turn that off. And if I just add a 1 millimeter extension on there, you can see that my yellow line goes 1 millimeter past. Grabbing that geometry, and everything looks good. And let's do the partial machining. And I'm going to try to do that envelope here. Okay, my partial machining should be, is it only active under certain things here? Only for roughing and finishing only work types. I wonder if I have to set up my tool first. So let's go ahead and grab our tool. And we'll use that same tool as we did before. Levels look good. Technology. Let me just do save. Looks good. Okay, so now my data pops up for doing partial machining. So I can come in here and tell it to, I want, instead of machining the entire area, I can say, start from, well, we can do a start point right from the start here, finish, and add a second point in here. And let's say I want to go to right there, finish. So it's only going to machine just that area that I told it to stay within. So this is kind of one way of setting up a boundary. Another way of kind of going about it is, let me turn off the partial machining, is if we go to our technology working area, and this is where you can draw a sketch in there. So let me just get out of here for a second and trying to figure out what plane we're on here. Actually, I'll just go up here. So we're on that plane, sketch, corner rectangle. Okay. Get back in here now. If you click on working area, Click Define Chain. Hit the green checkbox. And we're still going outside of there. Let's see. Oh, let me turn off the partial machining. Ronnie, this is why you want me to show you, because you had troubles with it. I'm kidding. I may have to, I'm trying to think here. I haven't used the boundary very much, so let me edit the chain. Let me just try doing replace chain. I'm going to have to look at this working area for you guys here and update you guys next week on what we have to do to get our working area. Yeah, I'm not even getting anything here on the working area. Let me just try something else here. All right, so we got a working area here. Okay, so looks like it's not really a boundary. It more looks like when you guys set it up, it's going to be more of a rapid area. So, okay, I think I know what's going on here. So your working area, let me just push this off to another monitor and I can bring it back up for you guys. So my working area is my box right here. But from what I'm gathering is by setting up that working area, anything inside this box is going to be a feed move. But if I didn't have this box, let me kind of show this here. So anything inside this boundary that we set up is going to be considered your turning area. So it's going to be using your feed rates that you specify. Now, if you wanted to, kind of look at it as a safety area, I guess you would say. If it wasn't set up, we'd be rapiding into, up to that, right now we have set up to 0.2 millimeters as a safety, and then it would start feeding through the material. So kind of look at it as a safety kind of area more than anything, not really a boundary to be contained to. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm not confusing you guys here. So if you guys want to stay within a specific area, then come over here and use the partial machining. If you guys have an oddball shape where you need that safety to be more custom versus what you can do right here, you guys can come over here, set up that working area, and then it will do a normal feed throughout that entire area for you instead of doing a rapid. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, I got a yes thing. Does that make sense for everybody else, or am I confusing you guys? It looks like we're, hopefully, can you please use like a casting shape? Greg, what, I guess casting shape, what do you mean? Oh yeah, a casting. Sorry, I just got it. You know, I have to write back. So yeah, if you were using like a casting, like a cast model, you can also do that. But remember, if you guys are using a cast for your stock, this envelope is going to be much smaller. It's going to be right along to your cast model for that. So what Greg is saying here is, if we have this, and this was a casting, and it's going to be more apt to the shape or the general shape that it's going to be. Your stock that you pick, instead of doing, just doing cylinder like what we did right here, would be 3D model, but that 3D model would represent your casting here. So the software is smart enough to know that anything outside of that stock can be a rapid move. But yeah, definitely you could set that up also. Yeah, it's just not one. I'm just trying to think of an area here where it would come in, but just kind of, I guess, for those oddball shapes. So kind of what I'm getting at there. Okay, so we can turn that off right there, and let's just get rid of that sketch. We'll just suppress it. Okay, so we're doing long external right here instead of doing facing like we did before. Doing a roughing using the smooth strategy. I don't think we'll show any difference with stairs because we're not going up a tapered angle here, but it gets a little bit different. So if we do smooth, looks like it's just kind of finishing off, and then versus, yeah, so we can see this line right here is considering our nice smooth. So as it's, as we're kind of coming down, it's smoothing, kind of going out. So let's go back to rough here. Okay, so we're doing a step down of 1 millimeter. My retreat distance is 0.2 millimeters. Doing a one-way direction, keeping a, let's just say a 0.2 for a distance, so we can kind of equal these out here. Now if we go to our semi-finish and finish, we can turn on our finishing strategy. At least for myself, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I find myself kind of defaulting to the ISO turn method more than anything, just for kind of outside turning. If we get into grooving, then that's kind of a different story there, but kind of seems to be like my go-to for outside turning. And then, do I want to do just rest material or the entire geometry? We shouldn't see any difference. Okay. Yeah, we will see a difference. So with rest material, let me play this through here and turning. And I apologize, guys. I feel like I'm bouncing around everywhere tonight. Okay, so if we play this through, I'm going to single step this here till we get to our finish pass. Okay, so we got everything roughed out. Now it's going to do its finish pass on rest only. So get that side, and done. Now, if you wanted to do a finish going up, getting that material off there so we don't have that little divot out, then that's when we come over here and we can do our entire geometry. And no, I think it's going to make a liar of me here. Yep, it is. Okay, so it's not going to go up just because it's not considering this as the geometry. Since we only selected this line, this line, this line, if we needed to finish that, then we'd just have to draw one additional line to go up for you guys. But since it's not geometry, that's what I was kind of was thinking it wasn't going to change much from entire to standard, but because we told it this is our geometry from this line, and this line, so it's going to do the entire geometry. Now, if we had a radius kind of still left over that we need to get back with a smaller tool, that's where if you did rest only, it would just come in here and just do the little corner. Or if you wanted to do entire geometry, then it would take and go the entire geometry for you guys. So, okay, hopefully I'm not confusing you guys here. Okay, so strategy, I don't have any grooves that I need to worry about in here, so I don't have to worry about my non-descending motions. Except if we wanted an edge break in there, we can definitely add that in there by putting that on there. And let's just do a fillet of 2 thou. Save and calculate. And you can see, we can zoom in here. We have our small, get in there better for you guys, our small fillet in there for you guys. So you can add that in there. Now, there's a lot of guys that want it manually added in there, which is 100%, that's fine. So all you have to do to change that is come in here and just go back to your SolidWorks portion of it, and you'll highlight the envelope, and you can kind of see as I have my cursor over it turns orange here, and we can just do edit sketch. So if I wanted a radius in here or up here, we can do a sketch fillet. Grab this guy and this guy. Oops, did I not grab my other line? There it goes. And we can get a large, let's just go 50 here. Oh, too small. Boy, sorry guys, I'm not used to working in millimeters here. So we got a nice fillet there. So once we hit the green checkbox there, you'll see that my line has changed now. Now on the SolidCAM portion, it's going to prompt you saying, you know, a sketch was detected. Do you want to import the changes? So we can say yes. And that's when you guys will get a little green circle over on your target over here. So before we didn't have that circle, and that's just letting us know that that target geometry was modified in your envelope. So if we want, we can come back in here. Let me just see if it's going to take it. I don't think I have to repick it, but let's just double check to make sure. I'm going to repick it here. Geometry. Oop. New geometry. Grab our fillet. There we go. You can see we're getting our fillet in there now. Let's go to Solid Verify here. Let's see it a little bit better here. So you got our nice small fillet in there that we're looking for. So definitely feel free to modify that sketch for anything that you guys need in there.
Kevin, we got a question. I don't know if you got that already, but
easier to do. Yes, it is, Greg, to answer your question. So Greg's question is, isn't it easier to do breaks and fillets on the solid model? Well, here's the thing, is if we do it on the solid model, then what we have to do is go through and re-pick our target and re-pick everything and resynchronize all of our stuff that we have going on here. By coming in here and just modifying the sketch of the envelope, this is something that I think they just added this with 17 or 16. I can't remember when they added this in there, but we had a couple customers ask that they could modify it from the stock instead of having to go in here and changing up, well, like you know, especially this one, we have a dumb solid right here. So to add a chamfer in there would be a little bit more cumbersome than just coming over here and changing just our envelope for our turning target. Does that kind of make sense, Greg? Okay. So that's kind of why. All right, so I think we got everything kind of set for this guy. So we got the front face now. We got our area chunked out here and all the way up to the top with a little fillet on there. Now let's kind of get into the internal side of things of turning. So first, I'm just going to drill it, and I'm not going to really cover much in here because we're going to cover this next week. Now, next week is drilling. Now, from what you guys can imagine, there is not much to drilling. But what I'm going to do is I am going to see if I can get, and I'm pretty sure he will, the CEO of the company, Sean Mamutis, see if he can sit through a portion of this. And I want you guys to pick his brain and, you know, things that you guys want to see in the future, things you guys that you guys just want to pick his brain about the company itself. So he'll definitely be able to help you guys out. And I think I'm just going to bring him in here just because it's going to be a very short class with drilling. And I know there's been some requests to talk to the quote unquote the big wigs. So we're going to get him in here next week and help us out with the night class, and you guys can pick his brain too. So, all right, so we'll set this up real quick. And I just want to pick it. Like I said, I'm not going to cover this one quite yet. And let's just do turning. Okay. So now let's get into the inside turning here. So same thing, grab our turning. Now my geometry, what I want to do is come in here with, I don't even know what you call this cutter. Kind of a boring insert, but more of a flat boring insert. And this guy. So you can kind of see we got a little bit of radius on there, kind of doing some for that inside turning, internal boring for you guys. Okay, levels look good. Technology, it kind of knows, you know, we're going to be doing, for the most part, these should be somewhat set for you guys. So we're just going to do an internal, doing a semi-finish, doing a finish on the turning, and you'll see that it's added in a grooving parameter in there because it's a grooving tool. So you guys can set up different grooving parameters here. Not going to touch too much on this because we'll actually get into this when we get into the grooving side of things. And then same as before, you got your strategies and the edge breaks. So let's save and calculate. And I can already see I got my auto extend for my start coming way over here. So I don't need to start because I'm going to do that for my second op. So I'll go to my geometry, modify, turn off my auto start, and I'm just going to extend it out by 1 millimeter. So as when we come to do this backside, it will just kind of do a flush mount up for you. And if I want to, I can do a auto extend to the end of, 5 millimeters, or I don't need to just because I've already upped the size, but, so we can just go just a little bit past. So let's just do a 0.1 millimeter to our end extension here. So we're going just you can see it right here, 0.1 millimeters going out to extend past of the stock that was previously there. The green check mark. Save and calculate. And now if I look inside, everything's staying where it should be. Let's go ahead and simulate this here. So just kind of doing its long passes. We got a roughing and doing a nice finish pass going around. So, like I said, pretty simple, easy to use as far as the turning. Now, what we can do in here is under our semi-finish, if we did down only, or do an advanced down only, let's do a save and calculate, and we can see the difference here. Get zoomed in for you guys. So this is still looking the same for us. Now we're going to finish that, go across, but now it's going to cut these at angles. So a little bit different strategy there for you guys. Now if we switch it over to stairs or even down only, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of difference here, just because just the way the geometry is set up here. And for those of you guys that don't know, and maybe you guys can hear me hit my space bar right now, if you hover your mouse over the single step and just hit your space bar, that will show you every single step instead of having to click the mouse. Okay, so we got a little bit different strategy kind of going that way. Now with down only too, we can do a delta in there if you want to kind of extend past. This one kind of doesn't, that's going to be your extensions on, let's turn on this tool path here. It's going to be the extensions on when it kind of comes in here, doing a delta. So if you want to go just a little bit farther past each way. Like I said, ISO turn, the groove method, that's going to open up you doing a delta compensation here, kind of going down for that grooving tool. We'll get more into this as we go with the grooving strategies here, but I don't know, I guess personally I'm going to stay with the ISO turn.
Kevin?
Yep.
Got a question, man.
All right, it would be great if when you return to the turning, it would be where you are not having to. Yes, Ronnie, I would agree. So what he's saying is, let's do that. And I think I have to check real quick. So I like this view right here. Like I said, because I don't care to see the bottom half. I can come in here and see it. But now if I get out, simulate, it's back to that value. Let me just see. There was chatter of this. And if we go to simulation, I just got to find it here. Where is my simulation? Two-pass simulation. Simulation mode. Yeah, so for Solid Verify, it does it. We have the option to keep current model orientation, but I don't have it for turning. So with that being said, like I said, there has been some chatter of it. I can't remember where they left off on it with the release notes. This is something that they've added in there. But because I got two bones to pick with that. So if we are in the simulation, you'll see that it defaults. But for those of you guys that use your 3D mouse, it does not work in here. You can't, I'm trying to zoom in and it's not moving around. So I'm trying to get those two things fixed up in there. But Ronnie, I guess if you could do me a huge favor, shoot me an email. And then that way when I see it in the morning, I can hop on development and ask them if that can be added in there. I just want to see if we have any. Yeah, we don't have any default view here. So Yeah, just as a reminder. But yeah, I will definitely get those addressed so we can kind of, like I said, that more than anything, the use of my space ball, that left hand that's always moving around is dysfunctional at this point. But they made it easy to click and drag it, move it around. You don't have to right click or anything like that. You don't have to hit or if you hit your center mouse ball, that will also move it around to where you'd like. So, all right. I think that's everything. We got. If I didn't say it, this is where you guys can turn on your cutter compensation. If you guys are using cycles and you want to use your cycles, here's where you turn them on. Same thing as what we talked about last week with the facing. The one that I kind of want to, no one really said anything about it, but what I wanted to do is if I add a new turning, and if I go to semi-finish, finish here, or under roughing, I want these numbers to be the same. So I'm going to do 0.2. Save my template, and I'm just going to label this as 0.2 rough. And I'm going to copy this. Okay, so I got that template saved. So now, if I just close out of my part here, go to my SolidCAM settings, and we go to template, and if we go to turning here, and I must be going to a different location. Paste. Oh, I gotta wait for it here. I got too click happy. The pressure's on. Oh, come on, does it not see that file location? It's there. Come on. All right, let's do browse here. So this is a little goofy side of things just because I did a metric part and now it's wanting to go a metric library here. All right, so we're under users, public documents, SolidCAM. Need to go under SolidCAM 16, tables, metric, templates. Now, turning, it's not there. Default. Have to go one more step. Oh, there it is. Okay. So now, sorry about that, guys. So when I do a new turning operation, it's automatically going to default to my 0.2 in both X and Z. So if I do OK here, open up that part again. And one thing is, I should have just changed it right here. One thing is any part that, so with that global setting that I did up here, any part you create going forward will have that. If we need to do it on this particular part and this one only, then that's when we come into our settings right here, template. I'll just make sure that's going to the right one. And go to turning, and we got our 0.2, hit OK. So now if I do a new turning op, go to technology under rough, you can see I have a 0.2 for both of these. So that hopefully, I know we didn't have any questions on this, but this does come up every once in a while, so I just want to show that to you guys, that if you guys aren't liking those default numbers, definitely change them to what you're liking. Don't go through the process of having to change this every time you guys do a turning operation. Keep it simple and easy for you guys. So that's why we have the templates there for you guys. So any new operation will have an equal 0.2 going around for it. So any other questions, guys? And I apologize, kind of bouncing around a whole lot tonight, and hopefully this all makes sense. And if it doesn't, shoot me an email or give me a call, and I can clear up anything that was missed. But I don't see, yeah, thanks, Ronnie. Don't see any other questions coming in. But I guess with that being said, we kind of wrap up things here. If you guys are looking for a sample part, this part is in your guys' default directory for you guys. So and that's under the C user. Let me just go to it for you guys. Let me close out it here. Tools, SolidCAM, open. So it's under, you know, your C user public document SolidCAM 17 or whatever version you're using under users. Getting started examples, and then the one we did tonight is going to be turning 1. So part's just a little bit different because it covered some different things in here that we'll go over later on, but there is a sample file for you guys too, so if you guys need to review it. But if anybody does want that part file, definitely send it over to me, or shoot me an email and I will get that over to you guys. I did see some latecomers coming in here, so for those of you guys that don't have my email address, let me copy this and paste it in there. So everybody should see my email address in there. So you guys can email me if you guys have any questions or concerns or if you want the part file. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for joining tonight. Looks like we had a pretty good turnout for people joining tonight. And we'll keep going forward with these classes, getting into turning with Milton. Like I said, next week, we will have, hopefully have the CEO of the company here, Sean Mamutis. We can kind of pick and poke at him and kind of any questions you guys have for him, he will be here to answer them for you guys. So, Andrew, got anything else before you wrap it up?
No, man. Thanks, Kevin.
All right, guys. We'll have a wonderful rest of your night, and I'm sure some of you guys I'll talk to during the week, but if I don't talk to you guys, we will see you guys next week. All right, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your night.